Recording now.
So I am being.
Okay, I just, we call the meeting to order. We have a short agenda to review the expenses, the financial statements, and a quick update on the auditor. Our expenses total $34,653.19. They're all our routine expenses. The significant ones are our insurance, purchasing of materials, utilities, and this cleaning service employee that we pay, a contract person we pay. And the only other, elevator services, etc. And one expense for roofing of $672.50. So that was a total. And then Marie just asked for an explanation about the roofing repair in Lansingburg. So Paul, could you continue if you would? Hello, Evelyn, welcome.
That was for an inspection and a clearing out of drains on the Lansingburg roof. Lansingburg roof is a little odd and it needs attention from time to time.
Okay, so maintenance essentially.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about the bills for November?
The key bank bill, we didn't. Oh, did we get that separately or? No, we didn't.
Oh, the credit card bill?
Right.
Yes.
Do we have it by now or?
Yes, oh no, we normally don't get that until the end of the week.
Okay.
But I'll upload it as soon as I get the info.
We had said with bills that come in after our meetings to approve the payment, we could put them to the next month if they're not due prior to the next meeting and approve them in the next meeting. But you like to get them out in a timely way. So I don't know what you might think. Paul, do you want to keep doing that? Put out the pay the credit card quickly? If it just came in, it would strike me that the due date for payment would be after the next meeting. Is that correct, Joy? Do you know?
Yeah, the payment would be due. I don't have it yet.
You didn't complete the sentence. You said the payment would be due, but you didn't say.
Yeah. But I don't have it yet.
It would be due this month prior to the next meeting?
They only, once they issue it, they only have a couple of weeks before it's due.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's usually fairly tight there.
Well, then this is what I would suggest. Could we go ahead and do it in the manner that we do and ask people for the general approval to pay it? And then each month report on the details of it in this document we get about expenses. So there'd be expenses that have already been paid. And that way, the question that Marie had is, what do we spend it on? Would be in the report, would be next month's report. That way I think that's the simplest way to keep documentation of the approval going forward and still meet deadline.
Okay.
Doesn't Joy usually provide the credit card?
Yes,
separately.
Yes, I do. I just missed it this month, so I'll upload it as soon as I can. I don't have the actual file with me here.
Right. So is that okay, Bob?
Well, usually Bob pays that bill when it comes, and then I upload the information in our Dropbox. I just missed the ball on that one this time around, but I'll get a copy of that to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to develop a system that would not be cumbersome, but would allow the authorization. Marie, the totals that we usually pay on the credit card, I consider them minimal. They're always under 500, or have been in my experience. So we could put a motion in to approve that payment up to 500, and if it's more, we could have a special meeting by Zoom. It'd be 5 minutes. Would that add to your comfort, Marie?
Oh, I don't know that I'm uncomfortable. I just noticed that it was missing. And
Yes.
usually, and you know, and it may be because the meeting is on the early side this month. That
Well,
that's
it
the
was
case.
missing, it's been missing 7 months because but rather
I
than
do-
stumbling over it each time, I'm trying to get a systematic way of managing it. The truth is, it's not very much money most times. The credit card is not overused in the library at all. So we could approve a minimal amount that people are comfortable with and get it accounted for the following month in detail.
I usually put the bill in the Dropbox in the finance section, I believe. And like I said, I'm sorry, I just did not get to do it this month, but normally it would be there.
Normally it would be there. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
All right. Well, then
believe
we don't
so.
have to do a workaround if normally it is there, but we've been missing it a couple of months. So that's why I thought we might want to need a workaround.
Yeah, it was there for last month in the Dropbox, and I believe, yeah, I do try to scan it and put it in there. Yep, it's been there.
Okay.
I just missed it this month, but I can get that to you right away.
All right. So,
Also, Evelyn is having computer issues. She's there, but I don't know that she can hear us. So she just
Oh.
told me.
I can
Oh.
hear you.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
I'm not sure how much battery power I have, so I'm making the assumption that if I go without video for a while, it might save some of the battery. If I'm
Mhm.
wrong, please someone tell me, and I'll put my screen back on. Does anyone know that answer?
I don't know, but to be on the safe side, that's probably good.
Okay,
I don't
and if I
know.
need to talk, I'll put my screen on, but
Okay.
I had a little battery glitch and I was trying to call the library to find out ask that question, and I can't get through the library. There's a problem with the phone. And I checked my phone, so I know it's dialing other numbers, just not me. That's just an FYI.
thank you, Evelyn. It's always nice to see you, but I think this meeting will be mostly routine and the documents are available for you. So I don't think you'll miss much by not having the video. So let's bring this section to a close then. Are we comfortable approving to be determined amount for the credit card? And we can put a cap on it. If it's more than 400, then we can reconvene for a quick approval, but I think it will be less, don't you, Joy?
Usually it's less. I think this past month we had to buy a sneeze guard for reference desk. So that one's like around 300.
Okay.
But offhand, I can't remember what else aside from the usual postage that we have to purchase.
Well, then given that, I would propose that we authorize up to $600 on the credit card to be paid. And then if it's excessive to 600, we'll call a special meeting and review it. And since it's routinely more available, I don't think we'll have this problem again. Are people agreeable to that?
That makes perfect sense to me.
I agree.
Okay.
I can also,
I guess we
I can
should be, pardon, Joy?
I was just gonna say, I can also email the statement to everybody with the explanation if that's easier.
Well, I think we will see it next month if we just,
Yes,
if it's
mhm.
less than 600. So I don't think
Correct.
there's a reason to be more communicative than that. If we pass that
Okay,
at a level of 600 or less, and we'll look at it
Sure.
next month, and we'll look at both that current month and last month.
Sounds good.
So I'm proposing that we move on this as a in a formal way to approve payment of not more than $600 for the credit card amount, and the other expenditures totaling $34,653.19. So, do I have a second to pay our expenses?
So
Thank you, Evelyn. Is there anybody opposed or any further questions about the expenses? All right. We have nobody opposed. I assume everybody's in favor, but maybe we should just say that, please. I'm in favor.
aye.
All righty. Thank you. Very good. Then we can move on to the financials. And I would just say we'll probably never have a month like this month in the next several years, because we received $196,973.80 as a legacy that comes into our financial statement, which is grand to have. And we also exceeded the expectations of the budgeted levels on the tax levy. So in terms of bringing money in, we're having a very wonderful month, so much so that our tax levy budget level has already been reached, and we've exceeded it. And so we are having a very wonderful year in the black, and our expenses are basically under. So before going to the financials for questions, I put out this this file. Well, I like to see a summary of it. Unfortunately, I should have printed it landscape, but I take the financials and I do the revenue, budget and actual, and the variance, and the expenses, budget and actual, and the variance. So for this month, our revenue has a variance, positive variance of $207,165, which is, of course, extraordinary. Our expenses are under by $27,000, which means we are net over our expectations for the month of November by $234,602. So for me, that's it's a wonderful position to be in. And the year to date actual on the revenue, it's $1,458,225. The expectation was $1,321,459. So we have a positive variance in our revenue of $136,766. And on our expenses, year to date, it's $1,128,652. And the budget was $1,250,244. So it's under by 121,590. And so together, we're a positive variance to our budgeted expectations of 258,358. So I like to do this because it's a ballpark on performance, and it gives us a sense of, as we read the financial statements, is there a problem? We know that there's not, and we can just go into detail. So I would just ask, hopefully having reviewed the financial statements, does anybody have any questions for Paul?
I do. I see that we received a memorial this month, and I wondered what that was about.
Yes, we did. That was from Paul Hohenberg in memory of Elaine Hohenberg.
Oh, really?
I can send you the information on that, Marie.
Okay. Um,
What is, I don't see the memorial on the financial statement.
It's under revenue, so, sorry. I'm under grants and donations. It's about the middle of the pack.
Bob, I'm looking at your summary. And correct me if I am reading this wrong, but if we look at like the year to date actual versus what we budgeted, it looks like had we not received that bequest of a little bit less than $200,000, then we would be like 60,000, 70,000 under budget. Is that correct? Am I reading that right?
Paul, are you going to answer that?
I don't have your copy of.
Oh, Bob, I was looking at your summary one that you had just emailed before the meeting.
My summary?
No, Bob's.
Yeah, 'cause
My summary.
yeah, I don't have a copy of that.
I mailed it to you about 20 minutes ago,
Okay.
and it's in the Dropbox.
Well, Bob, I don't know. Can you answer that? Am I reading that correctly?
I could answer it if I understood your question clearly, but I did not.
Sure. I can ask it again in a different way. I'm looking at the year-to-date revenue,
Yeah.
the year-to-date actual, and then the budgeted.
Yeah.
And given that included in our year-to-date is that extra, oh, thank you, Joy. That extra almost 200 grand that we received.
Yes.
Had we not received that this month, then we would have been over budget by something like, we would have had a variance of a negative like $60,000, $70,000. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Most of that is due to the special services line,
Okay.
which is way under what is budgeted by considerable amount.
Right.
That doesn't really impact us though, because there's not a corresponding expense.
Are you familiar with the special services?
Yeah, that's
Anna?
the CDTA bus passes.
Oh, okay. So that, oh, yes, okay.
Yeah. So that's, you can see
That's
that
why
as a
we're
good
missing
amount.
that money.
Yeah, I mean, basically for that amount of time.
Yep, okay.
You know, you've got, I'm trying to find it again here.
I just wanted to make sure that we knew why we would have been missing the mark on our budget
Yeah.
had we not received that money, but it sounds,
That's one
like
of
we
the
do.
big reasons. There's a couple other smaller reasons. For example, the whole grants and donations line totals are down from what we would have expected.
right.
But again, you know, with these things, there's not an impact because the grants always correspond to have an expense correspondence. So if we don't get the grant, we don't have the expense
Right.
kind of
Okay.
thing. So that's
I just
kind of
wanted
how
to
it
make
works.
sure we knew why we would have missed the mark and had a understanding of how that won't happen
Yeah, I mean,
next year. But it sounds like with the CDTA stuff, it makes sense.
you know, you would have underperformers of like 95,000, true. But if you look at your expenses side, and you do the math, you actually have a corresponding positive balance of about 132,000. So we're about, we're well over 100,000 in the black.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
Thank you.
kind of how it works out. It's
Thanks.
hard because, you take we have to report all income and expenses on this form, on this income statement. So we have to put in the bequest, and we have to put in the CDTA, all of that as income. But you kind of have to take it out if you want an operating, a good operating picture.
Okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
Well, Paul, congratulations. We certainly don't have any worries coming into next month's financial statement.
No, I think we're good.
It's a banner year for sure.
Yes, looks good.
And anything further on the financials?
I was surprised to see the boiler repairs and maintenance under not under the building. Is that typically where that goes?
Yeah, that's where we usually put that.
Okay, I probably just didn't put it together.
Basic with equipment maintenance, equipment repair, which I always included as the boiler, even though, yeah, technically it's part of the building. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I had thought that it was like repairs of some kind of library equipment rather than,
Oh,
so. Okay,
well, I don't know. That's the way we always did it. Doesn't mean it's necessarily correct. It's just the way we always did that.
okay, thanks.
Bob,
Yes,
just checking, you had emailed your summary sheet out?
yes. I did not email to you. I didn't anticipate you coming. I'm happy that you did. I will email it after we.
I'm on the committee. I've been on the committee. So would you mind adding I'll send you my email address again, but would you please add me to the
Let's
list?
test it. And Joy put them now in the files. So they're in the files. I won't have to email it, but yes, let's test our email back and forth. We have successfully emailed in the past.
I know, but just if you don't mind adding me to your finance committee list, because I've been on the committee since Mary Muller.
Yes, yeah, you're very regular. It was an oversight. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just a clear.
So
I
it
knew
is in the
something.
file at any rate. It is in the, Joy put them in just before the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
It's getting, we've got like 3 minutes left. I did want to update you on the auditor. After our board decision last month, I emailed Bonadio, Alan Walther, and told him that they had been selected. And he emailed back, he appreciated that, et cetera, et cetera. Then I asked, is there a contract? And he said he would send correspondence. Because we don't come in during COVID, I thought we should have arrived, and I found out it didn't. So I inquired of him Friday, I think, or maybe Monday, and he responded that we'll have it this week. He's going to send a formal engagement letter so that that will be tied up, and I was pleased with that. And I think at the moment, that's all I would have to report on finances. Any other questions before I ask for a motion to adjourn? All right, shall we, someone make a motion to adjourn?
I shall.
Thank you, Evelyn, I appreciate it. A second?
I second.
Yeah, thank you, Brianna. All right, all in favor, let's adjourn.
Aye, aye.
All right, we're
Aye.
adjourned. Thank you.
I guess everybody has 1 minute to the start of the next meeting.
Wow. Pretty good planning there.
By the way, whose ever idea it was to put the finance meeting, finance files in a separate folder under the meeting,
Yeah.
that was very helpful.
You're welcome.
Yes, it was.
Well,
Well, I go back into the folder.
I see Kirsten has joined us. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Michelle's not joining us, and nor is Jerry. Do we have anyone else with us, Joy? Guess not.
Sorry, Marie, did you ask me if anybody else was here?
Yes.
We have Stephanie and Pat and Freda.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just expanded and I can actually see everybody.
Yeah, I didn't know what the question was because they're right there.
The wonders of modern technology.
Yes. So why don't we go ahead? Is there any public comment?
Oh, this is the time that if I don't wait till the end of the meeting, I can contribute.
Yes, please.
Well, I don't know whether I have another call at 7, so I don't know whether I will be available at the end of the meeting, depending on the length of your meeting. So I just want to fill you in on what the Friends have been doing since last month. And that mostly has to do with decisions that we've made about how we're going to distribute money that we have raised. So for some of you, you may know that the museums are beginning to issue museum passes once again, and once again, the Friends will underwrite the cost of the museum passes.
Wow.
So we've given Paul a check for that already. A couple of Sundays ago, it was I Love the Library Day. And again, what we've done in past years, one of the things that happens is that librarians choose books that they would like to have added to the shelves, and patrons at Market Lock Books are encouraged to buy these books, plus any of the proceeds from the sale of books on that Sunday. 20% of Market Block Books proceeds go to the library. And it was an extremely successful I Love the Library Day. It was the best they've ever had. This was a program that was started by Carolyn Fagan more than 10 years ago, I think. But this was the best one. that's happened. And what we did this year, like we did last year, is the books that the librarians had chosen that didn't get purchased by regular patrons, we then purchased. And so that was I Love the Library Day. The other thing that, Stephanie, you can't tell anybody yet. In lieu of the fact that the library will not be able to do a Christmas dinner or Christmas celebration, holiday celebration, which is something also we've contributed to, we decided to purchase gifts for each of the library staff. And so those will be delivered sometime in the next couple of weeks. And the last thing is that I will be coming in next week and giving Paul a check to buy additional ebooks and additional hotspots. And we had budgeted a certain amount of money for that. And given the fact that ebooks and hotspots have become extraordinarily popular, particularly hotspots, and the fact that at your last meeting, Carol talked about the fact of how important they are to families with kids who are learning remotely, we decided to increase our budget to purchase those hotspots and ebooks. So I will be coming in, Paul, next week or this week, is it? Yeah, this week. Are you in the office this week?
I am. I'm there.
Okay, then I will be in this week. I want to hand it to you. I want to give you the check.
I'm there. Yeah, I'll definitely all day tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow's Wednesday? Yeah, I probably can come in tomorrow. Okay, so that's the last thing is that as many of you know, the Troy Farmers Market has moved to the old Price Chopper supermarket in Lansingburg. And so we all, a bunch of us went last week because we see it as an opportunity to see if we can lure people from the farmers market in Lansingburg to the Lansingburg Library and to the bookseller. So we've started a campaign on Facebook about that, and we are going to be talking to Steve Ridler, who's the manager, to see, we have a bunch of other ideas about how to promote the bookseller at the farmers market, and we're going to see what flies. That's it.
Well, I'm glad you didn't wait to the end of the meeting for that report. Please thank the friends.
I will.
All those things are wonderful. I certainly like the idea of more hotspots. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob?
I just wanted to say thank you too for all you do. It's you're just so organized and effective. It's wonderful.
Thank you. We're a good crew.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freda.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, let's move on to the treasurer's report. Bob?
Okay. I've been shuffling my papers. Please just hold on 1 second. We just had the finance meeting, and the first order of business is we recommend to you that you authorize expenses, and we reviewed all of the expenses in the amount of $34,653.19. The bulk of the expenses have been very routine. Our cleaning services, the materials that we've purchased, and some of it electronic, maintenance, and then insurance checks for TIA Craft and CDPHP, which are significant, in the amount of $10,000 and $4,664. So we have reviewed this. We would also like to add that we will be paying the credit card and ask you to join us or suggest that you authorize it not to exceed $600. We know we had a $300 unusual expense, and then we will review the amounts spent. But if it does exceed 600, we'll have a special finance meeting to authorize that. So we're asking for an immediate approval of $34,653.19 and to authorize up to $600 payment for the credit card. So I'm making a motion to that effect.
Is there a second? Kirsten seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. The consent agenda is next. Does anyone want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Bob made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kristen seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Anyone abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Stephanie, you haven't been waiting too long.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Stephanie. I am the head of adult services. Besides me, there's 3 other people in my department. I have been with the library since August of 2017. Luke Bowen has been with us since March 2018. Jess Hoffman has been with the library since January of last year. And Andrew Ward has been with the library since July of last year. We staff the reference desk at the main library. All 4 librarians take turns staffing that desk. We have a wide array of research assistance questions, readers advisory questions, a lot of tech help, people coming in to use the computers that have limited knowledge of how to use the computers. These days you get a lot of people that are really adept at using a smartphone, but it comes to using a regular laptop or desktop computer, they have a little trouble. We process holds and requests from other libraries. We manage the periodicals. We manage interlibrary loan requests. So besides requesting what's available within the Upper Hudson Library system, which is all of Rensselaer and Albany counties, we also are able to request libraries from out of that system, and all that patron is required is like a $2.50 postage fee for that service, and sometimes there's not even a postage fee, but that kind of widens the reach of what we can get for our patrons. We manage the hotspots, their circulation and keeping the service going on that. We take turns answering genealogy requests. They come in either in person, someone comes in and needs to use the Troy room. We get people mailing in from around the nation, sometimes internationally, with questions either about local history in Troy or someone in their family that maybe lived in Troy, anything of that nature. We are responsible for purchasing for the collection, both print and ebook and e-audiobook. So that would include the fiction collection, the nonfiction collection. We kind of split up the areas of nonfiction for purchasing. That also includes things, special collections like the large print. We occasionally weed the collection to keep it up to date. That we also purchase and manage the museum passes, thanks to the friends. Let's see, I already mentioned periodicals. We train and manage the security guard. Besides providing assistance to patrons when they're in the building, when you're at the reference desk, you're also kind of responsible for monitoring the building to keep it a safe and usable space for the patrons coming in. So you have to keep an eye out on everyone. You know, if someone is having a really loud phone conversation, it's up to you to talk to that person, so it's still a usable, safe space for everyone around them. You want to make sure if anyone's doing any unsafe behavior, that is managed accordingly. So back when we had the bathrooms open pre-COVID, if someone was in the bathroom for an unusually long period of time, you would have to knock on the door, make sure they were okay in there. If you see someone falling asleep, you want to talk to them, make sure they're not falling asleep because of some sort of medical condition. So there's that component as well to just providing assistance to those in the library. Let's see, what else haven't I covered? The pandemic has changed a little bit what we do. It's changed kind of the process of how we help patrons. We have a lot of new policies for safety. So now we enforce mask wearing in the library. We clean the computers after each and every use. And we clean every surface twice a day. We are limiting the number of people in the building. Right now we have a limit of 25 people. We've never actually hit that limit, but we do keep an eye on the number of people in the building. It's caused a little stress on staff. I've had some staff report feeling a little burnt out trying to manage the balance between safety and service. Enforcing mask wearing can be a little tricky at times. And even just doing small things like enforcing having people set down their ID so you're not taking cards from people all the time to decrease the amount of things that you're touching that could be infectious. All builds up after a while. But we're all doing our best. Oh, I did not mention, I also do some programming along with Carolyn Fagan. I'm planning a winter reading program coming up that will run mid-January through February. It'll be a little bit like an abbreviated version of the adult summer reading program, but for winter. I've talked for a while. Any questions?
Thank you, Stephanie.
I have questions, of course, if no one else does. Anyone else have questions for Stephanie? Stephanie, I know that you've received grants in the past. I was curious whether with this unusual year that you have this year.
So right now we still have grant money for a film program, and I'm working with our presenters that we're going to perform for us for that. That will be moved online, which isn't the experience that we were looking for, but we'll make it work. That was the arts grant that we got this past year.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you haven't hit the top of there being 25 people in the building, but when I've been in there, it's looked pretty active.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
how do you find it?
It's been pretty busy. There's usually a lot of activity at the reference desk, especially when we open for the week on Tuesday morning. You get a stream of people that have things that they need to get done. Computers usually fill up at that time. As the week goes on, it tends to be a little less busy, with Saturday being our least busy day. Pre-pandemic, Saturdays were always very busy. The pandemic has changed that a little bit, but even with the person limit, there's a lot of people in and out.
Now, at a previous board meeting, Paul had mentioned that there was some concern that there were patrons who weren't being reached, patrons who wouldn't necessarily have internet service. Is there any way that you are able to reach them, those people now?
Well, with us being open, people can come in and use our public computers. We're again circulating hotspots, and we're available for reach by phone. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. Did somebody want to say something?
I had a question when you were through.
Yes, sorry. I didn't. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no problem.
I'm through.
Stephanie, I was curious about the level of comfort with safety, and I think there are two aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious one in COVID, I find even in my family, there's a progression of safety steps that we will take to contain contagion. And so some of your staff or yourself might be uncomfortable just for the generalized risk as we see the rate of COVID starting to rise, even in Rensselaer County. So that's one question about comfort. And the second is the behavioral aspects of managing some of the visitors. If somebody is a marginalized person or maybe has mental illness or a disability that impairs communication, maybe anxiety disorder, whatever it might be, it's sort of, you're the first line of setting limits with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that if you're not successful at it, you have steps to take to get assistance. But to what degree does that affect your personal job comfort separate from the COVID? Thank you.
So the first question, like everyone, my staff has varying levels of, I guess, discomfort when working with the public. I think there's a lot of uncertainty with especially early on, when it wasn't really clear how contagious and how it was spread. And again, with the cases ramping up, my staff has expressed a lot of concern that maybe we should be pulling services back, and having less contact again. So yes, I would say that is a big stressor. And number two, that is something that we try to handle as delicately and as sensitively as we can. Unfortunately, we are not social workers. We do our best to make accommodations for those who might have a little trouble. For example, we have one repeat patron that has a lot of trouble keeping track of his library card, and he was coming in wanting to use a computer, but he wouldn't have his card, which you wouldn't allow them to use a computer if they also didn't have an ID. So he would go around asking people for their computer, which was disruptive to them. What ended up happening is he had a caseworker that is now coming in with him, and we've expressed that we're willing to work with her to help with his behavior. So I guess that's one example of how that could be managed. And just trying to be as consistent and communicative as possible with setting boundaries. If you can explain to people why they have to do things, sometimes that helps. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it answers a question. I know the nature of what you do. I have a good sense of that. I guess my question is, does having the job that you have, or your others, make you more anxious than you'd like to be? I mean, are you comfortable with what you need to do and the level of support you get?
Yes and no. Again, I've been with the library since 2017, and I would say the longer I'm with the library, the more my comfort level with handling those situations has gone up. Especially when we're a little short-staffed, or typically like pre-pandemic, what would be our evening or weekend hours when the reference person is essentially the person in charge. Paul isn't there. Maybe you are, there's no other department heads there. You do feel a little bit more pressure to stay on top of things. You don't want anyone getting hurt. You don't want some sort of incident. So you have to keep a closer eye on the cameras, make sure you get up and walk around and check that everyone's okay a little more frequently. It's something that comes with experience, I think. Sometimes having a security guard really does help. If you get, again, someone that's experienced. The Securitas guards that you would get were clearly not very experienced working with people, and sometimes staff members were more effective dealing with situations than the security guards. But we've had to have really good ones also that helped out a lot.
Is there anything that you could think of that we can offer you as an administration that might contribute to your comfort?
I know Paul's looking at this, but getting a security guard who has had a lot of experience and is well trained, I think would be a benefit.
Bob, if you're through, Kirsten has a question.
And I'm just going to tag on to Bob's comment or question. And, are there, certainly not training for security guard training, but are there a training opportunities that might be beneficial to you or your staff?
I'm aware of some.
I'm sorry, for dealing with the public. If there are such training opportunities, we should hear about them and to see what can be made available to you and your staff.
I'm aware of some with Ryan Dowd's the speaker. He does talks about homelessness in libraries a lot, and his training programs are really good.
If you could bring that forward to Paul, and something we can talk about and see what can be accomplished with that. Thank you.
Evelyn?
This is a comment, not quite a question. So I just wanted to commend staff for your patience with many patrons, especially those who are, even like myself, technically feeble and needing of help. You're always there for everybody. I wanted to commend you on all of you on your desire to problem solve. I was there when people were trying to figure out how to get the computers not to close down too early when someone had to get one last print in. I thought that was just brilliant. The fact that you guys have to run up and down the stairs when there's someone upstairs that needs help and you're downstairs, and just all of your complete thought process about wanting to continue to be in service to the public. And that's saying, trying to take risky behavior, but that with that, go whatever's going on, in our environment, taking that into consideration, still wanting to be there as the best way the library can to serve the public. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Any other questions or comments for Stephanie? Any other things that present difficulties for you or you feel could be improved?
Well, I don't want to complain just about the building, but things would be nice, like having a designated like computer classroom that you could have programs in would be great. Having a building that was a little more easily monitored. Our building has a lot of hidey spots that are difficult to monitor all the time. But I've had people complain about parking. They don't want to come in because they have to find a place to park. I don't know, I should have come in with a list.
Always time for that.
And on the building side, I'm sure there'll be further conversations about specifics there. So keep them in mind, make a list and keep the list. And I suspect there'll be conversations coming up.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would just want to say, if you come up with a list or have any desire to communicate with us, the door is open. So you don't have to wait for an annual presentation, but it's been very interesting and delightful to hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing anybody else with questions. So Stephanie, I guess you get off the hot spot.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you for coming and telling everybody about what you're doing. It's good to have an update, even though I know that some people may have had this experience with you previously, but these are different times.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Now I've lost my agenda, however, because I was so enthralled with what you were saying. Next is the director's report.
Yes. I just wanted to comment on a couple of things. First, we did get out the annual appeal letter to about 3,200 people. That was actually in the mail, went to the post office today. So that will be out there. So, and then Marie had tackled the idea of contacting our larger donors with a more personal approach. And those letters are out as well. Approximately 67 letters. We do plan on sending out the same appeal to our email to our email letters. To those who have emails for, that goes out tomorrow. So we're getting all that done. I want to skip over, I just take a look at Upper Hudson has approved their 2021 budget, which takes into account a 20% cut in state aid. Well, as you know, about 99% of their budget is state aid. So basically it's across the board 20% cut for Upper Hudson. And I just wanted to touch briefly on what that impact is. They have come up with a plan to scale back delivery somewhat. They're going to go from three delivery routes to two. And what that does is for some of the smaller libraries who don't get large deliveries every day, will be reduced 3 times a week rather than the full 5 times a week. This will affect, we expect this to affect Lansingburg. The final plans for the delivery haven't been released yet. Let's see, oh yeah, here we are. The OCLC access will really not have much of an impact on us. We primarily use that for interlibrary loans, and there's some other avenues we can use.
What does OCLC stand for?
Oh, Ohio College Library Consortium.
Thank you.
Well, used to. They changed their name.
It's a cataloging utility. It started years ago, I don't know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago as a cataloging utility. And over the years, they've collected an enormous database of books. So it's used as an interlibrary loan tool at this point for many people.
And it's not just an acronym, it is its name now. It used to be the library, as Paul said, but not anymore. It's become its own entity.
I think that sort of covers the impact that it would have on us. As you can see, it's not a very large impact on us. Fairly large impact, however, on Upper Hudson. They have asked the staff to absorb a 7% cut in salaries, and they've also reduced some of their coverage for healthcare.
Retiree.
Going forward, are definitely going to feel this. In addition, let's see, what I got here, which probably should have been a separate item on the agenda, is the safety plan revisions we've been working on. The staff and I have been working on these revisions. Actually, Virginia put down a lot of work on this, rewriting a great deal, and then the staff department heads have been meeting on this for the last couple of weeks. What it is we felt, at least, you know, we sort of felt that it might be good to, if we had to go back a step, to go back a half step rather than the full step. And what that means is we would still be allowing certain services, but with appointments only, rather than just opening the door for everything. And those services are pretty similar to what we're already doing. It's just that you've got to make the appointment, and we will have a system of you know, keeping track of those appointments. And we would go back to limiting numbers of people in the building to instead of 25. So there's be a much more severe limit on people coming into the building. Um, I think, well, it is in the Dropbox, so the full plan is in the Dropbox. I'm trying to think of what else I was gonna add here. Right now, what's supposed to trigger the plan, we talked about a 3% rate of infection in the county. And basically, over the short term, we've already reached that. Last couple of weeks have been pretty high numbers, even for Rensselaer County. Really, really super high numbers for Schenectady and Albany counties. Albany County practically doubled the rate. Part of it depends on how many people are actually tested, obviously, but we are seeing the increase, even though it backed off a little bit today, I guess. So what that means is we're pretty much on the border of taking this half step back. So we're going to monitor this carefully over the next week or so, and but I don't know if I suspect we're going to have to take this half step back.
So we're on the border of it. It sounds like we've already crossed the trigger. So then what is the new trigger to say that we're definitely doing this if we've already hit the trigger?
Basically to see if this is the end of the upswing and it's going back down. If it's not, that would convince me that we need to implement the plan.
So do we have like a hard and fast idea of what that looks like, of if it goes down by like XYZ percentage, or are we just kind of feeling this one out?
I have not quantified that.
Okay.
Right now it's just a matter of keeping track and seeing which way it's going.
Okay.
And how do people make appointments?
What's that?
How would people make appointments if we were to go this half step back?
Well, I'd have to call and make the appointment.
Call.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's going to be some, logistics in switching over. People are used to being able to come in. So it's going to be, it's going to take us a bit to switch over.
And then can they call from out front and say, I'd like to make an appointment for right now, you think? Or is it something you have to make an appointment for sometime in the future? Is that described on the Dropbox?
I don't expect it'll be sometime in the future, no. Based on our use over the last couple of months, I think you'll be able to make an appointment for the same day. The times might be a little different, but I don't see where, you're going to have to call in Monday to make an appointment for Thursday or anything like that.
Anyone else?
Just so you all know, I spoke to Paul about the piece. Suggestions on changes, so that appointments, I might as well let everyone know what I thought should be changed if anyone has any objection or any thoughts on it. Under H, appointments may be made, where it says Wi-Fi use on a personal device. To clarify, that's if it's in-house, then you need to make an appointment. And that I think we should broadcast the information that Wi-Fi is available on the street Many other libraries that have it available beyond their four walls are letting people know that. And I think it's something we should advertise. I think it's something that we provide as a service, and it should be very clearly spelled out. I thought remote printing service should add the word pickup. I know it's a small thing, but it makes more sense.
Makes sense.
And one other thing is under L. I think that the idea of the entrance and the exit is brilliant. However, because the ramp is also used by those who are covered by the Disabilities Act, I gave Paul some wording too on this about adding on something that advises those who fall under that category to call for an call for pickup. And if that's insufficient, then they must be calling for an appointment to, and I forget what word I used, to make sure that they have entrance and exit from the ramp. I think that's something we need to add here, not just as a suggestion, but to make sure that we are following any provisions in the Disability Act, so that we have provided for those who are disabled.
Could that also be a question that is asked when people make the appointment? Like, will you need access to the building via the ramp? And then that's kind of preemptively determined, so that the onus isn't always on the individual?
Good idea. We need to have we need to have some wording for the appointments, which we're working on.
Yep.
But that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, this is the part of Brianna. I think it's good to make that part of a conversation too. Especially, you know, some staff know who the people are. Sometimes some person who needs it will be able to talk about it, but it's good to advise people in advance just in case they haven't thought of that. However, to have it in words printed, you know, so it's part of our public document, I think is really important to make sure it's in there in writing too.
Oh, I agree.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I know this is not when I'm supposed to talk, but will this mean that the bookseller will have to be closed?
That we did not discuss yet, but I think that may be the case.
I thought,
You know, we're keeping a close eye on Rensselaer County. Has been pretty good up until the last week or so. And, you know, we're hopeful that the direction is back down, but, you know, there's no guarantees. If it's not, I think we need to implement fairly soon.
I was under the impression that Rensselaer County's rate was still fairly low compared to others. What's your source for making the determination?
It depends on what you say is the rate. There is a document that gives a rate of 1.3%, but that's based on all of the tests over the last year. There's been 155,000 tests. And so that rate is relatively low. What we're using is, however, the most recent data for the last month. And we're also using the last 7 days. And that rate is 3.4, something like that. Or 3.6, yeah, for Rensselaer County. So overall, yes, we have been much lower than a lot of other areas in the state, but right now it's going up pretty fast. Now, as I said, Albany is about double what our rate is. Schenectady is, I think, as well, but you know, we're on the way up, and we need to make plans for that. Yeah, there's Albany at, see, these are statistics, total persons tested over just the last month, not since the beginning.
So
Yeah, 3.7 here. I thought it went down to 3.6, but I could be. Yesterday, that says yesterday, maybe today was. Anyway.
So I know last time that the library closed, that part of the concern was that because so many other libraries were closed, that people were coming from areas to our library that from locations that had much higher rates than Rensselaer County. For instance, looking at Albany, and that was a big concern at the time.
It's a concern.
And did I hear that Albany Library closed?
They did. They pulled back to their, I don't know, 1B, whatever that was. I think that's offering curbside service, but the buildings are closed, yes. So that's another reason for our concern at this point. Albany never was very much open, however. They had a couple of facilities open. I'm not sure exactly. It seemed confusing as to what they were actually allowing. So they weren't, you know, there was some question there in the beginning. You know, Gilderland has not been open mainly because the whole library is under construction. So that adds another element to their problem. So yes, it is a concern. It was a concern in March and it's still a concern again.
So should that, you know, as Brianna was talking about, as far as the test, should that figure be considered also? I think there's a figure for the region, the capital region, or in your safety plan. Should there be sort of a wider context?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we could put a figure in there. I don't know even what the figure is for the capital region, or what is the capital region?
It might be a combination of Schenectady, Albany, Saratoga, Rensselaer.
The capital region's 7-day rolling rate is 4.8%. And that includes what Kirsten just said.
Well, it just that the capital region, yes, is Albany and Troy and Schenectady and Saratoga. But people from Schenectady and Saratoga, for example, don't have cards that are usable in our library.
Yep.
So they don't use our library. The only cards that work are from Albany or Rensselaer County. The Upper Hudson system. Those cards are shared among the area libraries. But people from Schenectady and Saratoga County, it doesn't work, so they don't come in.
So then perhaps considering what Albany, how Albany is
I
faring.
think Albany is the big question for us, and we are considering that.
Now, also I had a question on remote printing. People would have to come in to get the remote printing. Could that be done through curbside service?
It could be. Anything like that can be curbside, yeah. If you know what book you want, best thing is curbside. If you got a print in the printer, yeah, somebody can do, you know, a curbside for that.
Because I know that, you know, we'd have no other place to that folks can do that here.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this? Evelyn, I thought all your suggestions were good, and Brianna?
Keep us
Kirsten?
informed. That would be my only, keep us informed is when things change, so we know what's going on.
And
Me.
I do have a question about the UHLS budget changes, and make sure I understood correctly. In the director's report, last sentence talks about the impact that the budget cuts will have on the UHLS staff. And some significant impacts there. I just want to confirm that does not does not have a direct impact on any of the library staff. Is that correct?
Correct. That's only Upper Hudson
Oh,
staff.
yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
Upper Hudson staff.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
Right.
no one
Oh, yeah.
on the Troy Libraries who
No,
works
no,
in the
no.
Troy Library buildings is considered or financed through
That's
directly through.
all on Upper Hudson, yeah.
Thank you.
And for all the Upper Hudson staff that in a sense service our library, not just the automation, not just the delivery, but who are there for the tech, etc. Everybody there knew that the 7% was coming. The actual health for employees, they just re-manipulated plans more than cut people's health benefits. The health benefit cut was to the retirees. There was a small number, but the Upper Hudson board originally might have gone to 0, but the board was not happy with that idea. So it was left at 50%. And the Upper Hudson administration looked at some other cuts. And to be honest, it's actually more than a 20% hit that they took this year, because there was first the 8% cut by not getting the funding that they should have gotten. So it's really a 28% cut that Upper Hudson's working with and trying to give as much service as possible, again, from their perspective.
And this
So hopefully,
was to avoid any layoffs or furloughs of staff members. So all we were able to, retain everybody on board.
the staff's committed to this too. There, Upper Hudson staff's committed.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion on the safety plan?
Well, it's still,
Not ready?
well, yeah, it's still sort of in draft mode here. There's a couple things we're going to add. Some of Evelyn's suggestions. Your wording was great on that L, the last one there.
Thank you.
I was trying to do that and I but as I said, it's still kind of in draft stage. We need to take a look at it and finalize it. But maybe the board could a sense of approval at this point would be probably good, because it's not going to change a whole lot. We don't anticipate that.
Okay. Well, since it's just a draft, Marie, I would say we don't make a motion on this at this point. It'll be reviewed again in 2 weeks. Sooner if anything happens, right, Paul?
Well,
yeah, that's a suggestion.
I don't know that will last 2 weeks.
I know, I'm saying sooner. But at 2 weeks at a minimum. I'm going to make a suggestion too that we put this regularly on the agenda until this all passes. Again, to make sure that it's clear that the board is aware that it needs to be discussed at each and every board meeting.
Yeah,
so if we put it on the agenda, I think it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
But one other thing too that we didn't include, the reopening committee of directors of Upper Hudson, and that name probably needs to be changed. After some careful study and discussion, is recommending that all libraries go from 4 to 3 days of material quarantine. And also that Upper Hudson not quarantine at all at this point. So Upper Hudson has implemented that, and I think that we are certainly in line with going to the 3 days instead of 4. There has not been any indication anywhere that you can actually catch the virus from surfaces, but particularly from library books. We know that it can linger on library materials because that was done, there was research done on that. But what we don't see is that you can actually contract the virus from surfaces. So I think it's a good move. I think it'll speed up, material movement a little bit, especially with deliveries being reduced. I think that'll help.
Okay, and anything else, Paul?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Observations and community feedback, is there any? Old business, new business?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Keep up with Freda. The comment was made, I believe, at the Friends meeting about, and then again today, about our Friends liaison having these 2 points speak. Many years ago, the library board, and somewhere's in a motion, somewhere's that staff would not be treated as the public. So if there was a staff member who had something to say during the meeting, that they would be acknowledged and would be able to speak. And I don't see why the Friends shouldn't be treated that way also. And so I bring this to our board as a possibility, as a suggestion, that if the Friends liaison who comes to our board meeting needs to say something during it, that they be acknowledged and be allowed to speak during the meeting.
That's ordinarily the case. I think there was one occasion when it was a difficult conversation that I asked Freda to wait to comment. I do think there are times that we might be having a conversation where priority needs to be given to the board.
Well, again, I wasn't thinking of any past conversations. I'm just thinking future. And just to clarify that the board does not see the Friends liaison in the same manner as we would say a member of the public.
Comments?
I don't feel like I have had permission to talk during the board meeting. So hearing that from you, Marie, that there has never been, except for one instance, a prohibition against my commenting or questioning. I never felt like I had permission to say anything till it was the public time.
Because I thought until that one time that I said You know, that I had to give preference to the board that you had been commenting at other times, but maybe you didn't feel that it was really permissible.
I didn't feel like it was permissible. It is not my intention, you know, this is your meeting and it is not my intention to, you know, to be an active participant in it at all. But, you know, it would be helpful if I felt like in the, you know, previous 10 minutes, I could ask a question without seeming to be, you know, out of order.
I think that your input's often valuable. But I'd like to hear what other people from the board have to say.
I would agree that the role of the Friends is so substantial to what we do. There's an alignment and to be free to contribute an opinion, a point of view, or a question for clarification, just I would think we would welcome it. I just can't, I see no reason not to have the Friends' participation fairly open and inviting. Not fairly open, clearly open and inviting.
And if I may add on, I feel that Fred has offered much insight and has been a, I'll say, a constant participant or observer of what we do. I do wonder or worry if everyone is allowed to speak at any time during the meeting, if that could lead to long, tedious, and circular conversations that are not focused. So I'm a little on the fence on this here, not because of Freddie's contribution as an individual, but as a question of a larger context. I wonder if there's a way to structure it as a offering insight, similar to in the Supreme Court when there's an amicus brief, as people who are directly involved in the case at hand, but who have some expertise and knowledge. And I think that expertise and knowledge can be valuable, but I think it has to be careful then about how that is offered and how that's structured. So I certainly, and I've not, I think, Evelyn, did you mention that there's a language in the bylaws or the rules about staff having a certain level of permission? Did I hear that?
It's certainly not in the bylaws. It was in the minutes somewhere. I mean, it's been a while, but
well, there is a
I don't remember what the language is, but we can certainly work out a process that makes this equitable for everybody. So like Fred has said, the board meeting can continue at the same time. We can get input when we need it, when it's requested to be given. There's ways to work it out that it doesn't become cumbersome.
Well, and so then, there's some things that some words there that you use that give me pause. Input when it is needed, or advice when, I think it's input when it's offered and maybe considered,
okay.
Or, I think we have to be careful of saying, oh yes,
Okay.
you need advice here and I'm going to give it to you right now.
I wasn't trying to word it that way.
Okay.
Kirsten, I'm just trying to talk and explain where I'm coming from.
Okay.
That's it. Those weren't the words. I usually need a little bit more time to actually write it down and look at it before I
As
go.
do I. Yes, no, absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
it
Paul?
was just,
Did you have something that you were going to say?
Yes, there is a policy about public comment at meetings. It does not cover either staff or friends. Maybe that needs to be rewritten.
okay. What I remember when that policy was set, that was how many years ago that was? The other
Not
piece
quite that way.
about the piece about staff was prepared, or it was done before that policy, and that was with the understanding that staff wasn't going to be treated as if they were the public, that they had a little bit more, they had more leeway, and I'm trying to find the right word.
I
Not
think
getting
it needs to be spelled out. It needs to be codified. I think that there is a problem, and I think Kirsten might have been alluding to it, in that it's important that the 7 voting members of the board participate in the discussion, and that it's not overtaken by other people. So I think you have to guard against that. And that was one of the reasons for the policy in the first place. But if there needs to be a change to that, maybe we should work on a change. But again, so that it actually works.
Bob?
I was going to suggest, I mean, it's we're talking about one organization that's clearly related. And if Freda or anyone else from the Friends attends a meeting of one person or each, giving that person a related affiliate status or a related participant status, and participate in discussions and input and questions. For example, when Stephanie was presenting her adult section, Fred might have had some question or input or feedback that it sort of opens us up as a community, and adding a related interested party or would be inviting. I don't now, not to have a vote, and that's fine, but if it became problematic, we could revisit it.
And again, I'm not saying let's make this an open forum. I understand, like the city council, you get your public comment before and or after, but there are certain, you said affiliate partners, like our staff and the friends, and I'm not saying every member of a friends group. I'm talking about basically like the friends liaison, like Fred is today, and we've had Casey come as the friends liaison at other meetings. I'm trying to be a little bit more specific. How's that?
Perhaps we could invite Freda to feel comfortable to be to ask to speak during other parts of the meeting, but leave it at the discretion of the chair as to whether that is advisable. We've had some very long meetings in the past and have often had to make decisions at the end of the night where people are pretty worn out. So it's sort of in keeping with what Kirsten has said. Sometimes it may not work as well for us, but I see no reason with the board saying, hey, let's go ahead and do this informally without making it a part of the agenda and seeing how it works out.
May I comment?
Yes, please, Fred. I was just about to ask you your opinion.
As many of you know, I spent 25 years as a meeting facilitator. And I understand, the role of somebody who's chairing a meeting plus the role of a participant. And right now I'm president of the Friends, and I've sort of agreed that I would be the liaison to the board. And I understand how much stuff you guys have to deal with in any kind of meeting. And I also, you know, as long as I am the liaison, I will promise that I will be sensitive to your time constraints, to your need to make decisions and hear each of your own opinions rather than mine, and that I would use discretion to my oomphness to not take the meeting off track, to not monopolize a conversation, to not act in any way that's inappropriate. I vow to do that.
Touche.
So can we proceed on that basis and see how things go? You know, I think that the board really appreciates you taking your time to participate in these meetings.
Well, I really appreciate being able to do so, because clearly what happens to the library has an enormous amount of impact on how the Friends operate. You know, we are at the behest of, you know, we're in the service of the library. That's really what we do. All the money we earn goes to supporting the library. And in knowing about things, this meeting is a perfect example that there may be a change in library services, but have an enormous impact on our functioning. You know, so it's very valuable that I'm able to sit in on these meetings. And I use a lot of discretion in reporting out, you know, what I hear too, because I understand, you know, the whole issue of confidentiality and, you know, that kind of stuff. So thank you for letting me sit through it and comment when I can't stand it anymore.
Well, we can make you feel more comfortable to comment before you can't stand it anymore. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else in the way of old business and new business?
I guess I've got one item, if I may, and that is there's a survey has been sent out to the board and to committee members for confirming their availability for interviews, should any interviews be scheduled after the receipt of proposals for the historic buildings report. So there are a few days where we've gotten consensus for the 5 respondents, or not a few days, 1 day and 1 hour on another day where we've got consensus. So I'm hoping that anybody who wants to participate has answered that survey. If you have not answered the survey, I encourage you to please do answer the survey, and we will try and find a time that works for as many people as possible.
Kirsten, I want to apologize for not completing that survey. I was under the impression that it was only for building committee members, but I will do that now.
Thank you. I think in terms of actually scheduling the meetings, the building committee members will be given, I'll say, priority, but if we can get as many more people involved as possible, we would encourage that. So,
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that one.
thank you, Brianna.
I looked at it a number of times, but had difficulty with using the tool in that way. Usually when I am given a doodle poll, I say I'm available and then try, put those times on my calendar to keep free until notified that the particular time that's chosen. So there were so many times, I just didn't know how to deal with it.
Well, there are many fewer times where there's consensus. So if you want to go through and look at where there's the most consensus, that might help to limit filling your calendar up completely.
Okay, and how quick, I mean, the dates were a month away, so how quickly will a particular date be chosen? We can't even do that until we have the availability of the respondents.
Well, the meetings are we have consensus for December 21st and Monday, the 28th. So that is 2.5, less than 2 weeks away and less than 3 weeks away. We are meeting as a committee on the 18th, and we would hope to schedule the interviews very shortly after that. So I don't think the 21st is actually going to work, quite frankly. 4 to 5 o'clock on the 21st. So we'd have to reach out to somebody on Saturday or Sunday and say, hey, do you want to have an interview on Monday afternoon? That doesn't seem very likely. So I suspect that the day we're looking at right now with the highest probability and the greatest participation would be the 28th, if that would work for any of the respondents.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. I'll revisit it.
Thank you very much.
And Paul, is there any update on responses?
Yeah, there was, Jack Wade wanted to do a walkthrough the building before the 16th. They're gonna be in tomorrow.
I didn't hear the end of what you said.
They're gonna be in tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any public comment? The date of the next meeting is January 12th. So I hope to see you all then.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we adjourn the meeting? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move. Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Happy holidays to everybody.
Yes.
Everyone
Yes,
have a
you
good
too.
year.
You as well.
Very much so. It's they're different. If it's January 12th, does that mean it's 12 pipers piping?
Well, there'll be a few pipers piping that day, I guess.
Happy New Year,
Nice to see
everyone.
Everybody, truly.
Bye.
You as well. Be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.